What's up, Chili?
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Chili, I'm expecting you to stump us. Even more so than
No,
Brian did.
I doubt it. With how good you guys are together as a team, you're probably going to get in one guess.
Our powers combined, the most
They're going to
ultimate
somehow
20.
guess it without
Yeah.
even guessing anything about it. You're just going to be like, it's this game. And I'll be like, oh, God.
Like right out the gate. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. I like it. I like it.
We were so close, and I forgot Mario's missing. I'm still so sad about that. As
Dude,
I said, it's
when
got to be
you went
Mario's
with
time machine.
Oh, yeah. That was such a good guess, though. Like, you got down to the companies that made it, and it was like, oh, wow. That's just wild. Wild stuff. Yeah.
I love Mario. I hate those games.
Oh no, I hated those games as a kid as well. It was like, but I wanted Super Mario World, and it's like, no, Mario is missing, and it kind of got you.
Should have called it "Fun is Missing."
Yeah.
Well, it was edutainment, right?
Well, yeah, they were trying
I
to
don't
break
know.
into
It's
the.
probably still better than Mario is typing or whatever it's called. The type
Well,
of Mario.
okay.
game.
Mario teaches typing, or actually, I think you can play that like completely online, and that's something we actually are looking into for Maddie as she gets older. So we're sitting back and going like, yeah, let's practice typing. It's
I've started my my kid. It's summer now, so
yeah.
I was like, hey, you can do these online typing lessons here.
It's one of those things too. Like I liked edutainment games back in the day. I loved Reader Rabbit. I loved Math Blaster.
Reader Rabbit, yes,
Math Blaster for sure.
Something about those games were like, this isn't fun. Like I'm reading. I don't want to read. I want to do something,
RPGs were that for me though. Like getting into the Final Fantasy series was what helped me kind of just overcome my disability of just like, just not comprehending, not able to read, getting everything all mixed up. And so it was just like, because then I was like motivated because I was like, I want to know what they're saying. I remember literally taking things that the characters were saying and taking them to my like phonics teacher and being like, what the hell is going on here? It's like, and having and working with like a teacher helping me decipher Final Fantasy, and it's, for the longest time, I still get a kick out of it today. I was calling chocobos. I was always calling them chabobos. And I was like, oh, and then it wasn't until I was an adult that somebody was like, there's no other B. There's just one B. What are you doing? I'm like, all right.
I kind of like Chabobos more, to be honest with you.
I do too. I actually do prefer the Chabobo. So if we can get that trending, I think that would be the overall but greatest accomplishment I've ever done as a content creator. I completely fundamentally changed how people say Chabobo.
That's great. Yeah, it's like the kids that say browser instead of Bowser.
Oh, for Mario?
Yeah.
Okay,
I grew up with a few that did that. I'm not making fun of them. It was just funny to me.
That reminds me of a dad joke. It's like something like, why was Super Mario afraid of the World Wide Web? Because there were browsers everywhere.
My kids say regable instead of regular, and a part of me doesn't want to correct them because I was like, it's regable. Of course it's regable.
It's like it's adorable and you don't want to change it. But it's like, hey, you can't be like, 18 and saying this.
Yeah.
You can't if you're me. So I was in speech therapy for a while.
Yeah.
And I struggled with my L's and my R's. And like oftentimes, like I'd be like, Dad, I need money for the lunch waity. It's like, that's not how you say that.
Yeah.
But like even to this day, like I was like, hey, honey, can you get me a beer? But instead of beer, I'll be like bear. Like I'm like, do you want the animal? I'm like, oh, come on, I'm tired. Just what I said.
Bear me.
So you totally don't want to like come off like as a parent. You don't want to come off as like insensitive.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, I want you to be the best you can be.
Exactly. 100%. That's awesome. My sister-in-law is actually a speech therapist. So we end up getting a lot of because with Elizabeth, like her speech is she's definitely going to have to probably need some of that. And we try to make sure we encourage her to constantly say the right words, but instead of like, hey, can I get some food? She'll just follow you around going, I hungry. It's like, what are you hungry for? I hungry. Okay. No, like I get that you're hungry. I will give you food. Do you want a banana? Are you hungry for a banana or an orange? Like, give me something to work with here, kid. So we're getting there.
I feel like I need to get Joey up then. All he does is just like coo. He's not even saying words yet. It's like,
Yeah,
oh,
wait
you
till he
want you
does.
want some milk? You got to say it, kid. Come on, I'm kidding.
Like, let's go.
You gotta
I
want
know
it.
you just got here to the planet, but we're not pulling punches.
Yeah, 4
All
months
right.
old is no excuse to not be able to form full words. Come on.
Yeah, it's like, come on, let's go. This is not Bush League. All right, you guys ready to kick this off? We got, I think, like a lot to talk about. A lot of really big stuff is happening this week, and then obviously next week. So, all right, I'm gonna run the intro. Thank you guys so much for being here. What's up, Ryden? What's up, Dave? How y'all doing today? And yeah, let's kick this candle. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Crystal Core Radio Podcast. Joining me in the roundtable position, we got Mark, Chrono, and Chili. Mark, how are you doing, man? What you got going on?
I'm doing great. I am currently working on getting a video up about that state of play yesterday, which I know we'll talk about on that. Besides that, I am just loving every second of Metroid Prime Remastered.
Oh, wow,
Yeah, I've been playing that. I'm almost done with it, and it's just an amazing game. So I'm working on a retrospective on that as well. But that's really it. What about you?
All right. Well, for me, I mean, just No Rest for the Wicked just continues to dominate and dominate. And I just finished my second character to 30. And next, I'm now working on a mage class. And I'm going to work to get that to level 30 as well. And I just, right now, I'm not wanting to set the game down, which is great. I'm over 75 hours, which, like in context, I know that we have people in my community that have played well over 300 hours, but like 75 hours for a father of 6. I mean, like I'm not bragging or anything, but that's some power numbers right there. What about you, Chrono? What you up to, dude?
Well, I might actually finish Tears of the Kingdom this week, and I truly did not know there was a state of play yesterday, so I watched it like kind of late in the evening after the fact. So I can't wait to talk about it.
Absolutely. And Dave in chat says V Rising's coming out for PlayStation soon. This is absolutely correct. Also, at State of Play, they announced the Path of Exile 2 is coming to the PlayStation. I think that's a real strong move. And I've just recently was gifted V Rising, so I've stepped into that game as well. But I I just continue when I say, what do I want to play? It ends up just going with No Rest for the Wicked. And we're most likely looking at a new update next week for that game. But we are still kind of waiting and seeing. What's going to be interesting is what kind of pattern they establish with their rollout of both content and obviously quality of life fixes. Chili, we've got a lot to talk about, especially when it comes to Final Fantasy 14. Some news broke this week about Dawn Trail. But what are you up to, dude?
I've just been playing a lot of Fantasy 14, if I'm honest, with the Make It Rain event, the Yokai Watch event coming back. You've got the Mogtome event going on. You've got the crossover Dragon Quest event coming back soon. You've got all the different events coming back. Mainly the Mogtome and the Make It Rain, which the Make It Rain has ended, by the way. Just a heads up for anyone watching it right now, that has ended today. But the Mogtome event will be going on for now. And if you didn't do it before, the Dragon Quest event is coming back next month.
Yeah, Dragon Quest event, baby. Oh yeah.
You get a little minion and a slime hat.
I'm fine with events like that going away because they've been pretty decent at recycling them. There's still some events that we haven't seen brought back into 14 that I really hope that people get the opportunity to play them. I don't think
so. I think we've seen pretty much all of them, right?
Have we seen the Shantoto, the Final Fantasy 11 Shantoto event?
The Shantoto we haven't seen, but I think that will never come back just because they sell the minion.
Okay. Well, outside of selling the minion, it's just a fun little. It's anyway.
Yeah.
Neither here nor there.
Yeah, it would be nice, but I can see that's why they don't do it because they've got the same with the Fantasy 13 event, the Fantasy 11 event, and the original Fantasy 11 event with Shantoto and the Fantasy 13 event. Both of the items are on the Mog Station, but they recently redid the other Fantasy 11 event, the Ohara. They did that recently again. So people were able to get her armor again. They recently did that. So, yeah. I think it's just unlucky that they put those stuff in the Mog Station. I think they realized that wasn't a good idea.
Yeah.
And it limits them bringing them back.
Bummer. If anybody is out there wondering where Chris is this week, his power went out and it's been out like all week. So he's been dealing with that whole mess. So if for some reason he jumps in, that means really good news for him. But most likely we will not see Chris until next week, and we'll obviously cover all the latest breaking news and and more. But speaking of breaking news, Mark alluded to it with the state of play. State of play happened yesterday. Chrono, you got caught up after the fact. I got to watch it live. Honestly, the thing that I want to I really want to pick y'all's brains on this is that on the 29th, we had them come out. Sony was saying, yes, our player titles, only our live service games are going to be day and date with PC. But then I watched this event, and when I saw non-third party, I saw first party Sony Studios non-live service games being announced for PC day and date, and I was like, well, that was a quick turn, unless I'm misunderstanding what happened.
There was no day and date.
Yeah,
first party titles.
Yeah, there was. It said Sony, like PlayStation Studios. It wasn't a live service game, and then it was like PC and PlayStation. And the thing that confused me was like I saw the Sony PlayStation logo before it, and I was like, oh, if it was a third party, I wouldn't think of anything else.
You talking about Concord?
No, Concord is a live service game.
Until Dawn. Are you thinking about Until Dawn?
It's either Until Dawn or it was like a Avowed game or something like that. It's not. I know Avowed's the Xbox version, but I was like, it's Skyrim, but whatever. But like, I wish I could remember the exact name, but I was like, wait, like that felt
was it the VR game? I forgot the name of it because
maybe it was the VR game because they said VR is coming to PC, which honestly is a smart move by Sony.
I figured
regardless.
All those VR games are actually third party. None of those are first party VR games.
But they're under, I guess that would be something like a second party where they're under the PlayStation Studios. Yeah, that would make sense then. That's why I was just like, wait a minute. Like, I was like, in other words, because I even tweeted it out. I was like, in other words, nothing's changing yet regarding Sony's strategy. We'll see if it works out for them. But then I was like, wait a minute. Like a day later, I was seeing that's not a live service game and it's coming out to PC. Okay. It makes sense that it would be a second party.
And I could see Until Dawn because it's a remake, right? Like I could see that falling, but I mean, I had a similar takeaway. Like the first two things they led this state of play with were PC related news, right? And so like obviously Concord's live action, and you need that to be on as many install based player units as you can.
Yeah.
And God of War Ragnarok PC port, like I think everything Herman said the other day is true. And like whether people acknowledge it or not, PC is a bigger priority for Sony in 2024 than it was in 2020. Mm-hmm. And I just think they have a different kind of like hybrid approach to embracing it, which I think there's some merit to versus how Xbox is doing it as well.
I think when they made the statement about
in case you're wondering,
oh, go ahead.
Brian, in case you're wondering, by the way, Until Dawn original release was in 2015, so it has been quite a long time since it's nearly 10 years. So and now they're porting it to PC with the PS5 release.
Is it a straight up remake or is it a port?
It's a remake.
Okay,
well, remake / remaster.
I'm not familiar with it. I've never played it, so I was like,
it's a really good game. I do recommend. Recommend.
What were you gonna say, Chrono?
I don't remember. It left. It was something about their commitment to PC not being like they're going to release games on PC. So when like God of War made this state of play, it wasn't really. I don't know if anybody was actually surprised by it. We all kind of expected it, right? But it just kind of tracks with what they've been doing. And then that's what it was. It was about their statement about they're wanting people to buy PlayStations for those like day and date releases on the PlayStation. But I don't know if that is really gonna convert like they hope. PC players are very patient when it comes to releases and then sales.
True, and I don't know if it's so much for them about converting a large amount of PC players. Like I kind of feel like it's about ensuring they don't destroy confidence in the PlayStation hardware, right? While also gaining more profits than they typically would on their IPs by putting them in new places. So like you're going to milk that cow as long as you can on the PS5. Then you're going to put on PS Plus. So PS Plus subscribers, maybe you get an increase of subscribers there. Then you port it to PC. And even if like 1% of PC gamers start to buy a PlayStation 5 hardware, that's still a net gain. Like they're not
Yeah.
cannibalizing sales there. So I don't think they expect a giant windfall of PC gamers, but I do think, I'm assuming PC gamers have a little bit more income and disposable income than the average console gamer because they're spending, they're buying $2,000 gaming rigs too. So I do think it's a sound strategy again, not to just make a bunch more money off of PS5s, but to just not destroy confidence in the PlayStation 5 hardware while bringing their IP to new places.
Which is like the counter to like it's kind of like back when the Xbox One versus PS4 thing happened and the whole digital game debacle with Xbox. It's like Sony's more nuanced approach. It doesn't it benefits everybody who's interested while not eroding that confidence. And I that's where Microsoft's mixed messaging with Xbox has really frustrated everybody, right? It's interesting to see two different strategies, and there's obviously one that like doesn't hurt the brand,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see in the long run when because I'm really happy that we're seeing the live service aspect, because live service also, you want that multiplayer. You don't, like, people aren't going to go and, hey, I'm going to go move over to your console for this one game. But if it's all of a sudden available, I do wonder, do you guys think we're going to see like a PlayStation PC storefront because with the requirements for PSN being kind of added in these games?
Yes, that's the final plan. Sorry.
You're good.
Yeah, they hope to do that. I know a lot of people are confused as well because the original plan was that only multiplayer games were going to require PSN Plus. No, sorry, not PSN, but PSN. Only multiplayer were going to require PSN. But they've announced that God of War also requires PSN to be playable.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people were angry about that, thinking, oh, I only needed to make it for the multiplayer aspect of Ghost of Tsushima or Helldivers. But now, no, even single player, which I think is a turnaround because they originally said it was only multiplayer titles.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I mean, they were very clear on that messaging that it was
Mm-hmm.
going to be PSN required, which I don't know. I mean, at least they're very transparent now, right? This will obviously limit sales to certain regions. The whole idea of a PlayStation storefront, I don't know. Didn't we go through this? Didn't we go through every publisher wanting to have their own launcher, and then all of a sudden them realizing, wait, we should just go back to Steam? And maybe PlayStation's big enough to where they could do it themselves, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they do it and then 4 years later them announcing, hey, we're actually just shutting it down again as well.
That's what we've seen with like things like EA, Origin, etc. And
Right.
the thing is, my thought is, why not do both? Because if you have it to where you then give it to the players for them to choose what they want to access and how they want to access their games, fine. Like, I don't see that as a big deal. But if you start seeing them kind of pull away from Steam, I don't know if they're going to get that same level of adoption that they would hope for, or they would want to justify that overall cost. What it would be more or less in my mind is that we now have an opportunity not to have to give away that 30% on every sale by just having this as an option on the field. But at some point, that's going to be what ultimately happens in the long run. If they go and do that very thing, I don't think they're going to get that level of support that they're hoping for. Namely, because when you see gamers like Square Enix, for example, is just a company. Many gamers are fine with waiting. They're like, I'm not going to wait out the Epic Games Store exclusivity deal. Like, I'm not going to just go move and buy and put my digital library there. Some people did, but it's not, I think, enough that actually truly justifies the overall cost.
I mean, I think they'll probably continue with the launcher even with they'll probably have Steam, and you'll also have the launcher built in with Steam, because there's certain games where you also already get a separate launcher when you boot up the game. For instance, I think GTA, you have to have the Rockstar launcher, and a lot of Ubisoft titles you need to have the Uplay launcher.
Does that.
Yeah,
which
you even have
stinks, because I have games on Steam that don't work because there's some compatibility issues there, and there's no support.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll make any kind of incentive to try to push people to the PlayStation like ecosystem that way. Maybe it's trophies work differently, or they're just
If they
whatever.
bring in trophy and cross progression, that's the incentive for me. I
Yeah.
have no issue
Yeah.
with that
Oh.
whatsoever.
I mean, they would need to, in my opinion, to make it really good, they would need to bring in, I don't know if anyone's heard of PS Stars.
It's that.
Yeah.
I agree
Yeah.
with you, Chili. It's 100% going to be that because you get points when you buy on that
Yeah.
storefront, and then those points get
Yeah.
you digital collectibles I don't care about, but also like $5 coupons.
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
thing with Nintendo. They got the
Yeah.
coins where it's like you buy games and you rack up some coins, and then oh man, I just saved $10 on this this other game, and I was going to buy it anyway, and it just becomes something that just kind of piles up behind the scenes that you don't really think about, and then it just adds that extra level of this
Yeah.
was nice. Thank you.
Would you guys think that, and I could see it happening, but I don't know if they would extend PS Plus to PC in that regard? Then if they build a big enough library on PC, which they have of their single player titles, would they then pull like a Game Pass and have those PS Plus like premium tiers have access to PC games?
It's a good question. I wonder if
I'm gonna
Sony's-
go with maybe.
Yeah,
I think it's a solid maybe,
It's a
but
safe
we're
answer.
probably a couple years out from
Yeah.
them doing that. I don't
Well,
think
they'll
they
probably-
would jump in.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Sorry. What they'll probably do is add cross save.
Mhm.
They'll have trophies. They'll add like cross progression, and they probably add the cloud support, because I don't know if you can play native cloud support on browser right now, because PlayStation supports cloud on the console and I think on phone. So maybe they'll add like native remote play / native cloud support onto Chrome and stuff onto the PC via the PlayStation Plus PC system.
Yeah,
And
they
then
do
they'll
that.
just
I think that
bundle
would
it
be
in with
beneficial
premium.
to me. Really, like I would. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm kind of waiting for. Same thing with Xbox and Game Pass. PlayStation, I think cloud. It's so interesting to see with like Microsoft. Everybody's kind of frustrated to buy their messaging. For me, I think their messaging has been very clear that they're just going to put games everywhere, and that was with their concept of play anywhere and these acquisitions. I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, this for exclusives." I was like, I don't think it is. I do think they have to walk this weird line when it comes to how gamers and expectations are set, because they're fundamentally just saying like, we're just going to go into these blue waters. And if they do make the Xbox console just a PC that can connect to any storefront that you as a player want to connect to, I think that's just going to be it's really the unique power that they wield. But beyond that, you go then and look at their xCloud offering, and you don't have your games. It's only the Game Pass games. And then you look at the PlayStation, and it's like they're doing way more over here. But Microsoft, like you are like cloud, like where is your best effort in this regards? Because when you think of things like GeForce Now, and you think of things like even the now defunct Stadia, but like those technologies are incredible. And with me, like they just added World of Warcraft to GeForce Now. They're adding Street Fighter 6 to GeForce Now. I'm like, it's becoming this almost baked in requirement that your game's on GeForce Now for me to even consider it. And I don't think Sony is going to do something like support GeForce Now like Microsoft is, because Sony actually has, I think, their PS, their cloud environment, and all they have to do, like Chili said, is like add it to the launcher, like on PC, and then all of a sudden I can take my PS5 that's sitting down, behind my monitor, take it downstairs, and I can, I'm now extended. I'm now more into that ecosystem than ever before.
Absolutely.
That is, that was a $380 million investment Sony did in like 2012 for Gaikai. And I know Microsoft definitely, I feel like perception wise is leading in cloud, but Sony does have a pretty good cloud offering in that regard. I mean, I don't like how I have to stream PS3 games on my PS5, but besides that, like they're using that technology quite well.
Yeah. Now, Midnight in chat says, Microsoft's effort to remove exclusives isn't unclear to me, but them saying that they want more games like Hi-Fi Rush than shutting down the studio behind it is very mixed messaging to me. And I think essentially one of the things in that story that is missed is that the talent and the people who were kind of behind that studio left and they formed their own studio. One of the things about, and I know a lot of people get frustrated with merger and acquisitions, is just natural for the industry itself. But the thing that I like about the merger and acquisition process is it puts capital in the hands of the people who actually make the games that we love, that make them valuable outside of the executives. It's a transfer of power. There are like issues and things like that come up with it, but that is where I look at, yeah, these companies, these creators got paid. They still want to make great games. Now they happen to have a nice fat, paycheck based off of their shares. Then they can go and do these different things. So like with Tango, like I think it didn't become a big story, but I do remember seeing some people talk about how, yeah, the people behind it, they have actually moved on, and then so it was just Tango in name only. In that case. And so I think that whatever the new studio ends up creating, much like we saw with Toys for Bob, but with Toys for Bob becoming like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and just back to being independent, but we're also going to work on these games for Microsoft based off the IP. I was like, well, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out in the long run. What do you guys think?
The shutdown with Tango was inevitable once that vacuum happened with the talent there. And Hi-Fi Rush is a critically acclaimed game, but I don't know if it actually did enough to justify them to rehire everyone for that studio. Right? That's just the business of it. They still own that IP. That doesn't mean Hi-Fi Rush is gone. Right. It does question, like, do we have the talent to bring a sequel to it or not? The Toys for Bob thing is interesting because there's some real exciting rumors associated with what that project is that they're working on with Microsoft. But yeah, it's unfortunate, but that's kind of how I would classify it.
Banjo-Kazooie
that's the one. Yeah,
kind of leading into like the last topic, but yeah, like I really hope it's a Banjo either remake or an all new game. It doesn't really matter what they
the Astro game, I think, was the highlight of that. And because I was like, I'm getting Mario Odyssey vibes, which is great, but I feel like we've been in this period of time where nobody can step into that ring with Mario because of whatever reasons. And most likely it's because like Mario has set such a high bar that in order to try and enter into that arena, like you're taking a bigger risk than anything else, because people would be like, what is this game? But Astro in and of itself, I thought looked really great. But the same thought, like that's the thing that kind of welled up. It's like, oh, if they're doing this, like maybe we can see the return of a Banjo-Kazooie game, which I actually really enjoyed back in the N64. And it's just an IP that's just gone dormant. I think my kids would really enjoy having, that game being remade, remastered. I would hope that it would be a brand new game in the series. What do y'all think?
There was a Bloomberg report, I want to say from about 2 years ago. Maybe it was some report that said there is a Banjo project that has been greenlit. Now,
yeah, I remember reading that.
And also Toys for Bob, I think one of their executives made the statement that he said both Banjo and Spyro are IPs that are just way too ignored right now.
Yes.
I agree. And I think Astro is so interesting because that was a VR game on the PS4 that really has now become PlayStation's mascot, if you will. And I just love how they unabashedly celebrate PlayStation in those games.
Yes.
It's so brilliant. Like there was literally a scene where they have like a rogue squadron of spaceships that are just like PS2, PS3 controllers, Move It controllers, and like a PS4 machine.
I thought that was awesome. Like just that kind of nod to the it's just something like you don't really see anymore, where it was very creative and the game just looks fun. Like it could be simple platforming, it could be whatever, but I grew up with that. That's what I want to do. I love playing all sorts of games, but good platformers are so few and far between these days.
Yeah, I agree. Midnight writes, I want to love the big AAA titles, but they tend to be less impressive to me compared to the various different indies. And we're seeing this within a kind of what I would say, not a collapse or a crash of the gaming industry, but a contraction where AA games are actually, able to deliver the fun and innovation. And AAA is really, really hurting. And I think AAA is going to probably hurt, with some exception, for the short term, because the costs have gone up exponentially, and there's all those different things that are kind of related to it. And then there's the growing frustration that it's at a AAA game just seems to be so very safe, because again, when you're spending $200 million, like there's things that you're like, well, we better not, innovate.
Right.
It's like we can't take that risk, because it doesn't necessarily mean that ROI is gonna kick back in. And so that's what I think we're seeing right now happen within the industry overall. And it's going to be, I don't think that, like I said, I wouldn't call it a video game crash or whatnot, because I do think that the demand for wanting games and people's desire to make games, that hasn't changed. It's just, I think what we're seeing is just more of an industry correction that's been predicted for a while now.
which is kind of going back to the showcase or the state of play, excuse me.
Mhm.
What I don't understand, like Concord, that game looked really impressive, but that
Pair it with the
industry,
Marvel Overwatch as well. Like,
it's
So
it's
for
it's
me,
just
when that trailer played, like the intro shows like this story cutscene, right?
yeah.
But then it transitions to gameplay. I just it was too jarring for me. Usually you see like I felt like I was watching like a PS3 early PS4 game
Mhm.
being shown because the cutscene was really detailed and very fluid, and then it cuts to the game and suddenly the models aren't as sharp. There's and you get some of that, but like that didn't feel like this big live service title that's got a lot of work behind it. You know, it
Mhm.
just kind of felt like I don't know. It gave me Foam Stars vibes. Like this looks neat, but I don't know if it'll do what they want it to do.
and that's just the industry correction. I feel like Sony's going to be way late to the game with these live service attempts. Like
Mhm.
there's only so much space out there for live service games to truly succeed
What
in
was
the
the numbers?
world.
It's just under 70% of gamers are playing 6-year-old games.
Right.
Yeah.
That's obviously still Fortnite and Minecraft, and World of Warcraft
Oh,
still
Final
holding
Fantasy
on.
14.
Final Fantasy
Grand Theft
14.
Auto. Grand Theft
Exactly.
Auto.
Like all of us here, like are in like guilty, like in that category. Of course, we touch other games as well, but like in terms of just pure hours spent
Mhm.
on gaming, that these games are aging, and that there's only a finite amount of time. That's why subscription fatigue is becoming a real thing, because it's like I don't
Mhm.
have all the time to
Yep.
watch all of this service and this service, and why am I paying for all of this when I don't have to?
Yep.
By the
Right.
way,
Yep.
I will clear up that Marvel Rivals is also on Xbox.
Yeah.
So,
Most of it, like when we were
yeah.
talking about the whole PC thing, like just an image that it goes Concord, God of War, Dynasty Warriors, Infinity Nikki, Ballad of Antaria, Skydance Behemoth, Alien Rogue Incursion, Marvel Rivals, Where Winds Meet, Until Dawn, Path of Exile 2, Silent Hill, Monster Hunter Wilds, and the only so that's 13 out of the 14 games they showed are all coming to PC, like or Xbox in this regard.
Yeah.
So they're
Mhm.
like, that's why I've seen people talk about it today on Twitter, calling it the state of PC. And I'm like, oh,
I
that's
think
fair.
That's
all
a
the
fair
showcases
criticism.
this year are basically going to be stay at PC because everything on Xbox is gone on PC.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah,
like, I'm like, people are like Xbox has exclusives. I was like, they haven't had a single exclusive since they implemented Play Anywhere.
Yeah.
Stop trying to redefine exclusive, meaning I can only play this game on this hardware. Okay,
It,
that
it,
doesn't now exist anymore in the
yeah,
Microsoft ecosystem.
it's almost like where can you not play the game, and then
Right. It's what's being
that's what makes it
excluded.
exclusive. You know, and it's
Absolutely.
like
What are we excluding here? Like, like that's really what the shift in the mindset, and Sony going in that direction doesn't surprise me, but they have, I think, a harder time in terms of their base, because like, yes, when PS players who are diehard console, like console only, and I get it, PC gaming, has its downsides, went from a cost and maintenance and, etc. Like, I get why people like consoles, but I think the era of console only, and it could just, and again, I can see us, Sony going that safe route of, well, we're not doing day and date, but we're going to have this cadence in which that, that, okay, it's going to be every 2 years when our PS5 game comes to PC, or like whatever that cadence is. And I do think that time frame will get shorter and shorter and shorter. Midnight says state of the Steam Deck. Yes. And that's the thing. Like when it comes to these hardwares, we've talked about it a few times here on the podcast. Like, why would like Microsoft not going and opening up their system to things like Steam Deck, like to Steam and etc. It seems foolish when the next Steam Deck is going to be even more powerful. It already can hook into my TV. It already supports my, a wide range of games. I think that ultimately we're going to see that shift, and that I think gamers win in that regards.
By the way, I might be wrong about this because A, I don't own a Steam Deck, and B, I don't play on PC. But from what I've been reading from certain forums, that supposedly the PSN games games that require PSN do not work on Steam Deck because that's something to do with the PSN will not link properly with Steam Deck. So yeah, if the games that require PSN, you won't be able to actually play it.
I think that's just also
On
going to be a
Steam
little
Deck.
bit of a function of time, because when it comes to Steam Deck, being that it runs Linux, there ends up being something that the people have to go and end up doing, and so Steam Deck isn't a perfect platform, but it's a great platform, especially if you got the money for it.
Yeah, once Proton gets a couple more months of updates, I could see that working out and resolving itself. But I had issues even with Final Fantasy 14 on my Steam
Mhm.
Deck back in the day because you have to do that
Yeah.
separate launcher.
I still get all kinds of views on my how to set it up Final Fantasy 14 for Steam Deck video
I
because it's just
that might be where I found you. I don't think that 2 years ago or so. Um, I so I think taking the PC conversation away from this, people are still wondering where are those first party exclusives or those first party IP games that have already been announced, right? Like, where's Spider-Man 2 DLC? Where's Venom? Where's Wolverine? And I think this state of play was as good as it needed to be for Sony right now because I do think 2025 is going to be a big year for them.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Like, I think we're going to see a lot. We're going to see some more Insomniac games. I think we're going to see some Naughty Dog games. I think we're going to see something new from House Mark. And I think those games will eventually come to PC as well.
Mhm.
But I just don't see Sony going the Microsoft route fully on board with PC because it's kind of foreign to them, right? Microsoft knows the PC space. They run the OS on most of them, right?
Yeah.
Where Sony wants to be a little bit more protective of this business they've manicured over the decades. And I get that. I think they do need to naturally be a bit more conservative about how they play it. But I do think
Mhm.
them getting their games in more places, even mobile devices,
Mhm.
I think it's
Go where the
inevitable.
gamers are and are going to be. And I think again, the Sony is coming from a position of strength. They don't need to change, like as quickly as Microsoft, because when you go look at them putting up 60 million on the PS5, they're going to easily hit 100 million units sold for the PS5. And if they start lowering the price, the velocity to that 100 million number is only going to increase.
Mhm.
I don't think that the PS5 is going to struggle as a console at all, and that's going to just benefit Sony in the long run. But in terms of what happens with the PS6 and do more and more people move over to PC? Do they communicate that, yeah, even if it is like a 1 year wait, like I can wait for that game so I can play God of War in ultra super wide, like there are things that the PC does that I think is really kind of gives it a huge advantage. And RSJ fan says, I only watched it for the games that were coming to Xbox. It's like, and it's the same thing. But like when Xbox was doing their stuff, it's like, yeah, their games are coming to PlayStation. I don't know if we're going to see Sony do that big of a swing anytime soon. But I'm just excited that people are enjoying Sea of Thieves and all the different things like that. When people can play games, I'm like, I don't care. I'm having just have fun. Now, I want to
Yeah.
talk a little bit about Final Fantasy. Chili, you were in our podcast pre-show chat. We were talking about how we might be walking around in Vana'diel. And so, for those of you who do not know, Vana'diel, the Final Fantasy 11 world, is coming into Dawn Trail as a part of the Alliance Raid series. So, you want to think about patch 7.1 timeframe, roughly 4-ish months from the launch of the expansion, is when we're going to finally see that. What are we expecting here? Because my hope would be is that not only can we visit it as the raid, but can we go to Vana'diel like as our characters? And there was also rumors I saw about how the exploratory zone would be more like a Bermuda Triangle kind of thing. And for me, I was still like, man, I hope the exploratory zone also relates to Vana'diel. But that's just my Final Fantasy 11 roots. What do you think, Chili?
I don't think it'll do anything to do with Vana'diel in the exploration zone. I think it's going to be separate. By the way, they changed I swear they've changed the website since yesterday, because didn't they have wasn't there a huge description? Because I posted it on Twitter. There was like a description of the raid on the website. I'm not going crazy, right? Because yesterday it said the Alliance. I can't find it now. It said New Alliance Raid adventure beckons to an altogether different world, Vana'diel, where challenges await in the New Alliance Raid crossover with Final Fantasy 11. I screenshotted that and put that on
No,
Twitter,
it's still there.
and I can't see that on my version of the site anymore.
All right.
It's
Oh,
weird.
weird.
Yeah.
Weird.
Anyway, I'm excited. If it does mean we're actually going into Vana'diel, I don't think we're going to be able to see as much as people think they want to see. I think it's just
Yeah.
going to be limited to specific zones.
Well, if you
Um,
end up getting kind of the big three mindsets, because then all of a sudden you could have like the Bestock, you could have the Windurst, you could have the Sandoria. Like typically when you think of the raid series, they have these different areas, and you could see them kind of focusing in on the cities themselves. There's a lot. That's what the thing I'm most curious about, most excited to sit down and play when the time comes.
But no, my guess is we'll get specific zones based on the game. As someone said, like kind of like the evilist raids. Well, my guess is like maybe because they showed the Shadow Lord already. I don't think the Shadow Lord's going to be the big bad because they're not going to show the big bad in the promo art. That's just going to be the first boss.
Yeah.
Like not the first boss, but like the first like tier.
Yeah, it could
in
be the
my
first tier
opinion.
main, final boss in the raid. Yeah, I can see
Yeah.
that.
Which means like we'll probably get like the Dynamis Lord and maybe it'll go to Primathia and all that lot.
Yeah.
But no, maybe like the first set of raids is like the first raid is maybe Castle Zaval, Bailey's and Keep. Like maybe that would be what it's inspired by. Like we'll go through those areas, and then we fight the Shadow Lord at the end. Recreate those
Mark,
areas.
do y'all have any expectations or hope for Dawn Trail?
Again, I feel like I'm Floriner in a different land because I'm still such a newcomer to 14. I just heard something about a slime hat and a Dragon Quest mission coming back. So that's what I'm excited about. I'm really hoping to get back to the game by July. Just things are so busy right now. But yeah, I mean, I haven't even played 11, Brian. I mean, I'm not a good Final Fantasy fan. I should be judged harshly by everyone here in the chat and on this call.
I like that we see Pips in chat because him and I, like, we talk a lot about like our love for that sandbox MMORPG, that old school style. And he thinks that they're going to go through the Dynamis areas. And I think that'd be really cool. Dynamis would be a fun callback to what we saw in Endwalker. And I know you haven't got there, so we won't spoil it for anybody. But yeah, and just to confirm again, for those of you like Slinky Rock wondering, the 7.1 will be the first tier, and then it will be 7.3, and then finally 7.5 before that's wrapped all, its story to completion. So it is, going to be a journey as always. And for me, like, as I get ready to step back into Dawn Trail, as I continue to lose, like the weight, like I'm, even if I don't make it day and date for June 28th, which is crazy to think that we're just a month out from the launch of the early access expansion, that will be, I've got all summer to be able to hopefully get the rest of this weight off and then pick up the story, because I really want to be there for the 7.1 update, but we will see in that regards.
I'm excited for the raid as well, which probably won't drop until like end of July, early August, which is the Arcadion.
Did we have any confirmation on whether it was going to be 2 weeks or 4 weeks until normal?
We don't know. From the translation, it sounded like it was going to be 4 weeks. Because we even went back on. I was watching Chris's stream, over on his channel, and it on the live stream, it was said that the raid was going to drop in 4 weeks after the expansion launches, which would be 2 weeks more than normal, because normally it would go the expansion launches, 2 weeks later normal would launch, and then 2 weeks after normal Savage would launch. So that way people would have time to do the normal story, do the MSQ, do the normal story, and get geared up for Savage, the harder raids.
Yeah.
But the way they worded it, they said that the raid series will start dropping in 4 weeks, which mean that Savage would be in 6 weeks if they continue the normal strat, unless they do the current patch. Because this is going to be confusing for some. Normally patch cycles, they would drop the patch and the normal and Savage raid will drop day one of the patch, like the main patch is like the 5 point, it'll be the 7.2, 7.4 and so like that. Those would be the normal raid and Savage raid. But ever since Endwalker, they now give a week gap between normal and Savage, even in the patch content. So there'd be a gap now. So if they are waiting 4 weeks to release the normal mode, maybe they're going to do the patch cycle idea of only waiting a week between normal and Savage. So that
rather than 2 weeks. That makes sense. That kind of basically just means that they've added in 1 week, as opposed to because if they end up doing that, that'll be. I like that they do that break between normal and Savage, because it just ended up being, I think, way too intense for a lot of people.
Again, this is all speculation based on a possible translation error. We don't know. For all we know, that maybe when they meant the raid will be in 4 weeks, meant that the whole raid will be out in 4 weeks and normal is in 2 weeks, and Savage is still in 4 weeks. If you understand what I mean, it could just be a translation.
All right.
We don't know.
Our third topic before we get to 20 questions is next week, this time ish, plus a couple hours. The Summer Games Fest kicks off. We've got confirmation. I've been looking forward to seeing what the New World devs are announcing. They've been talking or not talking. They've been saying, like, we'll talk to you guys about all of this in June. Summer Games Fest, June 7th, kicking off. Do you guys have any hopes or expectations?
I mean, that partner list got pretty big.
Is Capcom on it?
I'm trying to find it right now. And when they had released an update showing like the latest list of partners, I was like, okay, well, this is, it's going to be a big event no matter what. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm hoping for anything specific, but I'm just excited to see what's coming.
I do think so. There were some pretty notable, I would say, leaks from people that have a track record. A guy named Dust Golem, which sounds like a Pokemon to me, talking about Capcom leaks for Resident Evil 9, and then Resident Evil Code Veronica remake and Resident Evil 0 remake. And 9 supposedly might be pushed back a bit, but Veronica and 0 seem to be closer. And just yesterday, Play Asia, which is a pretty big e-commerce site, international e-commerce site for games, had listings go up for RE9, RE Code Veronica, and RE0. I think they're back down, but I feel like at the point when a listing goes up by accident, that's as sure of a sign as you could see, most likely, that these are coming. So I think that would be cool to see. I missed out on those games back in the Dreamcast days and the GameCube days, so that's cool. Yeah, nothing really. I mean, Nintendo is really what I'm looking forward to most.
Same.
So.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did we have any confirmation on a date for Nintendo?
Not yet. Not yet.
Because it's Friday. I'm excited for Friday. Xbox goes on like Sunday, and then I don't know what happens after that. But I think from the New World perspective, because Cosmos is saying New World's dead, I think we're going to see the console announcement for that game drop, which I think would be very, very good for it. I've seen speculation that console will drop in June, like it's ready for console release, and then that will roll out, and then essentially the next seasonal update will be what adds a lot of content. I don't know where we might see that. If we see that with the fresh start servers, we'll see, I think, a kind of a big rush that we saw with the last time. Yeah, that seems to be kind of its strategy. I'm hoping that we also get some updates on Blue Protocol and Throne of Liberty. I'm not so keen on Throne of Liberty at the moment, namely because they're struggling deeply in Korea, and they're talking about making it come to the mobile platform, which that makes a lot of sense. But from a gameplay perspective, that it might just be a game that, that's just another Korean MMO that really didn't stick with a lot of people, especially with its PvP nature, which I'm all for. But I know that with that tends to drive people away. And then we've got other bigger games that are continually on the horizon, like Star Citizen and Ashes of Creation, which I'm going to be in the Ashes of Creation alpha, the next one sometime this fall, whenever that goes down. So I'm looking forward to checking that out. I'm with you guys. I think Nintendo is the thing I'm most interested to see, but we did already get confirmation that whenever they do talk to us next, they're not showing off Switch 2 stuff. So it's gonna be kind of weird, right?
That's okay though, because it's like, then we know that the announcement is coming later this year or the beginning of next year.
Yeah.
They're running up against the end of the fiscal year, at that point, and they're gonna want to show something sooner. But will they push that Mario Kart bundle one more holiday season?
Probably.
But I'm more excited about what is Nintendo releasing for the rest of this year, because there's a lot of things that I'd like to see before the Switch 2 comes out, because if it happens afterwards, I don't know that it'll matter. I mean, yes, people will still buy these games no matter what, but there's just some Wii U ports we're still waiting on, namely Zelda.
Yeah, if they announce Wind Waker, I think I'd be super thrilled, because I'd love to be able to sit down and play that with my kids. I remember, again, I've told this story, when I first saw Wind Waker, I was mad. It was because they showed us the realistic Zelda GameCube. Come on, guys, Nintendo isn't just for kids. And then essentially now you look at it and you're like, holy crap, that Wind Waker is one of the both visually and stunning and is memorable and it holds itself up. And they've got it locked away on the Wii U now for some unknown reason. And hopefully we get to see them bring that to the Switch. And Cosmos says Nintendo was right all along about the game industry. And I think, they've highlighted that fact multiple times, which was smart because they realized they weren't going to be able to compete with the likes of Sony and Microsoft with their budgets on hardware. And so they're like, let's just make it to where we make money when we sell a handheld and let's make money when we make games. And turns out we're really good at making money. And oh, by the way, we made a misstep with the Wii U. Instead of firing everybody, how about we just not let the executives get all these extra bonuses? So all the executive, when we look at the problems of the gaming industry, it's like, oh, at least we got Nintendo over there, at least giving some kind of pushback. Chili?
I still love my completely unique Wii U. I don't think there's many people that have the model I have. It's really rare. It actually doesn't have a Wi-Fi chip built in, for the gamepad. It doesn't have a Wi-Fi chip. It actually has an RF cable that you have to plug into your controller because it doesn't support Wi-Fi. It has a Ethernet/RF cable to plug in because it was specifically made for certain things.
I mean,
it wasn't supposed to be sold, but I was able to get my hands on one.
There you go. Cool. That's probably worth a lot of money. I'd be curious to see pictures of that. Nintendo has always wanted to just appeal to as many gamers as possible, and that always comes into play with cost and the way they approach game design. And they've admitted that, just the general cost of game design and game development is going up, but they have not ramped up to the point of where I think a lot of AAA games are. And listen, I don't think we are going to see a recession or crash like we saw in '83. Gaming's just too big. Whatever this pivot is that's happening, I think Nintendo's in a very strong position to continue to find success 2024 and beyond, because they just approach things from a business and philosophy perspective much different. And I'll say it, I love Nintendo. I got criticized on one of my 2 videos about PlayStation. They were like, there were too many Nintendo games in that intro video. I'm like, I have my favorites. It's fine. But
I'm an unapologetic Nintendo fanboy who is mad at Nintendo because they're online. Come on, guys.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so
step it up.
That's kind of like the thing I hope they fix with the Switch too. But there's just that level of Nintendo uniqueness that's gonna either make it tolerable or weird, but it'll technically work,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so we know they don't prioritize online like other platforms. And I just want to give this anecdotal story. I had a bunch of family up this weekend, and a few weeks ago my nephew was here and we were playing Smash Brothers together. And he came up and he's like, let's play Mario Tennis Aces together. And then throughout the entire weekend, he and his siblings, they were all just playing Mario Party and other Switch games together on the couch, to the point where their mom, my sister, came up and she's like, the kids are playing a video game together. This is so strange. And for her to say that, I'm like, that's why Nintendo does prioritize couch co-op. And honestly, that was one of the things I was most excited about that Path of Exile 2 console announcement, is it's going to have couch co-op.
It was nice to see.
That stuff's awesome. And I as much as online is going to be a main staple for multiplayer play, I do think it'd be great to see games incorporate that
couch co-op.
Yeah, that's just
it's important.
Time.
It is a highly like Midnight saying, nobody else really supports couch co-op like Nintendo does, and we've seen it happen a little bit. I think Diablo 4 supports it on the consoles, and I was like, that's great. But couch co-op, I think, is an important thing to bring, like you said, because we do Mario Party. We get when we play games as a family, it ends up namely the age of the kids also helps, but it's either on the Nintendo or we do something like Pow World or things like that, where we take turns rotating the controller and who's doing what in the game. So I think I agree.
And it's kind of funny because I think Sony thought more couch co-op games might get made over time. Because I don't know about if you've heard of this feature, because actually I don't think many people have heard of it. The share play feature. If you're on a party chat with someone else and you're playing a couch co-op game that doesn't have online support, you're able to share your second controller digitally online with another person in the party. So even though even if the game doesn't actually officially support online, you are able to play the couch co-op games online with friends, which is kind of funny that they invested in something like that for when the fact there's not many couch co-op games being made now. It was it was something they look to in the future, which is I like, by the way. I used to do it with the Lego games with friends because the Lego games supported couch co-op but didn't support online co-op, and that was an easier way to play it with friends.
It works well. It's a good feature.
Yeah,
the one thing I will like voice in terms of my frustration, especially with the Switch, because even we're talking couch co-op, I was hanging out with my nephew and we're gonna play some Smash Brothers, and he had his Switch and I had my Switch, and we're like, oh, let's just play Smash, Switch to Switch, and it was unplayable. And so then eventually we were like, well, I guess we should just go back to one console where we're doing the game, and that obviously worked. But what we were wanting to do was, instead of having to push it up on the TV and get the controllers, we wanted to both kind of sit down handheld and play against each other, and it just did not work.
I will say we had a similar setup with a family vacation we took last year, where it was like my brother-in-law and then his 4 kids plus me and my wife and my daughter. And I was like, hey, y'all bring the Switch. We've got a couple, we'll bring them. And we land Mario Kart, and it worked really well, And so it may be down to the implementation, but you can only get 4 people on one screen, but we land, and then it was like when I was growing up, we'd play Halo all night. We're sitting up, it's raining, we're not going to go out to the beach or anything, so we just played Mario Kart. And then the kids eventually switched and wanted to do something else, but they were playing games together, much like Mark's story earlier.
Yeah.
And you can't do that with there's not really any games that have that level of impact or that notoriety. And then there's on the other platforms, and then if you think about PC, there's just nothing there that does what Nintendo does.
Yeah. Yeah, like Path of Exile 2 might be a PS5 game for me, simply for the fact is I could see my wife enjoying playing that with me.
Right.
Where it's hard to play a couch co-op. Like, games support it, but you're sitting. I only have one computer chair, and like, well, bring up this random kitchen chair. It's not the same.
Yeah, it's definitely not the same
experience.
Yeah. One day when I'm,
by the way,
like hyper wealthy, I wouldn't mind having like an epic setup where it's like we both have 2 gaming machines, and like it's just like I've seen some couples stuff, and I'm like, oh, those people have no children.
Yeah.
But it's like it is such a beautiful like thing. I was like, Julian, I've talked about like, because like my wife likes to play games, and we like to hang out and play games together. But it is such a thing where right now, like, well, if I'm going to play a game, I'm either going to be on the GeForce Now handheld, or I'm going to be at my my PC that's going to be doing it. Chili, you're about to say something?
I'm going to say, talking about games that support co-op that people don't remember. By the way, there's a game that people don't even know it supported co-op, and it's very rare when I say this that they get completely confused. Did you know there was an old PS1 Final Fantasy game that supported co-op?
Wait, what?
Didn't 9 have like a multiplayer mode?
Yep. Yeah, Final Fantasy 9 had multiplayer.
Yeah.
You could set controller to 2 other characters in battle.
You can actually do that in Final Fantasy Final Fantasy 6 and 5. Like there was the way that you could
in the
yeah.
I think you could do it in the SES game, the SNES games. But I think you can't do it in 7 and 8, but you could do it in 9.
Interesting.
But yeah.
Interesting. I remember being blown away when I found out that 2 people can play Duck Hunt. Someone can control the ducks. I was like, what? Like, obviously everyone else was blown away. That wouldn't have been like a viral thing, but I'm like, I feel almost angry about that. I'm like, there were so many times I could have played with my friends.
Oh, that's so funny. Chili, do you want to take us into 20 questions?
Gotta get focused.
I know, right?
All right, get the game.
Okay, well, I am
on. Get my Google tab hot and ready.
I have the website open, so yeah. Just fire away, folk. I know what I've got in planned. I've got a game. Just fire away with the questions.
Was this released prior to 2000?
Yes.
Okay, great.
But I will say, this is probably cheating for later in a way. Technically, it came out on multiple consoles.
That's fine.
One of them was in 2000, but the original was before 2000.
Did it launch exclusive to a console, like just when it came out? Was it only available in one console?
It was but the exclusivity was quite short. So yes.
Okay.
Was this released before 1990?
No.
Okay. So it's we got 90s to we got the decade. That's helpful.
It's not Pac-Man.
Right. Like all of a sudden it's like, okay.
Was it exclusive? Was it released? With the original release, was it a Sega console exclusive?
No.
It's a good question because yeah, I see what you're doing there, Chrono. The Dreamcast failure.
Mm-hmm.
Was it made by a Western developer?
I want to just double check. That's okay.
Yeah, you're good. That's what.
Yes.
Ooh.
Okay. All right. Was this released exclusively on a Nintendo platform? Like as its
No.
original launch? Okay. So that rules out SNES and N64.
GameCube. Well,
Did
the
GameCube
2000
came out after
yeah.
that? So we'd be looking at, I mean, unless it was like something like 3DO or something like that, we'd be looking primarily PlayStation, right? Because we know
Yeah.
it's not Sega.
Or Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's kind of set the generation then. Was it released before 95?
No.
Ooh.
Yeah, no.
So it's that N64 PS1 generation.
Right.
So it's either a PC game or a PlayStation game. It's a Windows 95 game. It's not an OS game. Is the developer still around?
Yeah. Yes.
There was a tone to that voice, Chili, that makes me think yes, but not in its
yeah.
original state, which makes one company come to mind. But no, that
Are you
wouldn't
thinking
be
like
it.
Activision Blizzard or something like that?
Yeah, but Chili took too long to answer the question if it was a Western developer. So I feel like he would have had that one in his pocket if it was. So yeah, that's what I was thinking though.
Would this be classified as an RPG?
No.
Yeah.
No. No, because it does have some RPG elements, but it's not.
Right. Yeah. I think that's a fair response.
Where
So
are we at
it's
with
not
questions?
primarily thought as an RPG. Yeah. What number are we on, Chili?
You're on 10.
Ooh, okay.
We're burning.
Hmm.
So it's 95.
I think I've done
to
better than I
2000.
thought I did. So I'm good.
Yeah, you're doing good. It's a developer that's still around. Wasn't Nintendo console. I mean, I'll ask it, did it launch on the PlayStation?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. And it's got RPG-like elements, but it's not an RPG. This is just like it's a platform, but it's not a platformer thing all over again. Wait a second.
It's very light RPG, I would say, but it's very, in my opinion, I wouldn't classify it as an RPG, but it's very story, is all I'm going to say.
Okay.
There's a lot of story.
It's a PlayStation game, a lot of story. Could probably nail down the genre more.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
I think I'm being very helpful.
You're doing great.
You're doing good.
All right. Is it a 3D game? Like graphically?
Okay. Yeah. Yes, it is a 3D game.
Is it a platformer?
No.
I was thinking like Banjo-Kazooie or something like that, but
I always go to Gex or Blasto. So,
like we have sports, racing. What other genres are out there? We know it's not
adventure.
Action adventure. We know it's not an RPG mainly, as a mainstay.
I feel like if it's got RPG like elements, that would make me go action adventure over racing or sports.
Right. And I was trying to think, is there any race like with like, for example, I don't think it's Twisted Metal based off of the responses because it
Yeah.
came.
I'm gonna tell you no.
But like,
But I'm not
I
gonna
was
count
trying
that
to
as a
think
question.
like, is there like was there an RPG element to like any of those? That's what I'm just trying to.
Vigilante 8. I don't think so. I mean, was it an action adventure game?
You've already asked that. Yes.
Oh, I did get
Oh
a
wait,
yes
no,
to
you
that.
didn't. No.
I mean, I was talking to
He
the
was talking out
team.
loud. Yeah. All right. Action adventure.
Oh, sorry. Was
You're
that a
good?
question? Sorry.
It is a
Yeah.
question.
Sorry. Okay. Yes, it was. Yes.
Huh.
Well, yes, it is. Should we say?
PlayStation. Let's see here. So we know it's 95 to 2000.
And we know it's a Western developer,
Mhm.
and it's a 3D title, so we're not looking at like a side scroller.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. No, never mind. We know it's a PS. It launched as a PS1 exclusive, but the statement earlier about it wasn't exclusive for long. Has
Yeah,
me
not
has
long
me
at all. Like, I'm surprised how short it was. If Wiki is correct, should we say? If Wiki is correct.
I have a game in mind, but I don't know how to.
Okay, I don't mean to waste a question here, but was it also on the Sega Saturn?
Let me double check. No.
Okay.
Is the lead of the story female?
I don't know their gender, but I'm gonna go with
Okay.
no.
Okay. Rules out Tomb Raider.
Like, yeah, they're very outdrawn. This, what's that word? I can't say it, but I think they're male.
Well, that
I'm gonna double check. Sorry.
should narrow it down. Androgynous characters from 90s PlayStation action adventure games.
Like Rayman, maybe?
I mean,
It's action adventure.
It looks very male. Is all I'm gonna say. I think he's male.
I feel like I got it, but I mean, I thought I had the last one too, and I was wrong.
Oddworld? No.
That would have been exclusive longer.
That was quite exclusive for quite a while.
So I'm gonna give my team here some thoughts, Chili.
Okay.
But Legacy of Kain launched on PlayStation in August 16th, 1999, and then on Windows the month later. I feel like, I don't know, you could say it's androgynous. I don't think it is, but I don't know. That's just kind of where my brain's going. I don't know if there were RPG-like elements to that game at all. But
yes, that was released November 1996 by Silicon Knights. So that's a Western developer. And our Silicon Knights aren't around though, but Crystal Dynamics, it was who published it. And Crystal Dynamics is, maybe that applies to what Chili was talking about, how they're around.
Well, no, I was looking at Soul Reaver too, so never mind. Ignore my comment there. Blood Omen was the first one, which was also that had a longer.
Do we want to find out if it's in the series?
I mean, I guess I'm trying to think if there's a question that could be broader too that helps us narrow it down, like something along the lines of like, do they still make games in this IP? You know,
I think you can go ahead and ask it. I think that's good.
Is this an IP that they still make video games for?
No.
All right. That's Legacy of Kain to a T. What how many questions are we at, Chili?
16.
Okay, so we got 4. Is this a part of the Legacy of Kain series?
Yes.
All right, baby. We got this one.
I think it's the second one because the second one had a shorter lifespan of being exclusive to PlayStation. So
Yeah,
He's
I'd go with
he's mentioned that multiple times.
yeah,
I
Wanna
would go with
take
that
it in
one.
for the victory, maybe?
Chrono, go for it.
You want me to?
Yeah.
Is
Go
it
for it.
is it Legacy of Kain Soul Reaper?
Yes.
Woo, baby.
Hey, undefeated.
17, 18 questions?
That was
18, yeah.
that was a niche one.
Yeah.
That was
I was going to throw out the fact that they when you talked about, okay, I was really confused when you said about, is this part of a legacy of, have they still made games for it? Because technically they have, but
Yeah.
didn't really come out of beta because they
Hmm.
tried to do that that online game, Nosgoth. So
that was
it was like,
related.
that never really got released from what I can remember. So
Mhm.
technically they tried, but it didn't really release.
Dollhouse Sonata.
Oof.
Dennis
So-
Dyack. Oh well, there you go. That was a good one.
On a side note with like games that like we get word that's coming and then we find out later it's canceled or just never made it past a certain stage.
Yeah.
I'm really tired of learning that games I'm looking forward to get canceled.
Yes.
Well,
Like
no,
that's where
I
with Square
buy
Enix,
it.
I'm
There
like,
was a
don't tell
bait-
me about your game until it's like
There was
18 months at a minimum.
Yes,
from release.
please.
There was a beta for it, but the beta started in January, and then the whole game shut down in May. The year later. So
Wow.
yeah, it's
Wow.
like it didn't last.
All right,
Yikes.
guys, where can people find you? Let's start with Chili.
You can find me over on twitch.tv/Moogle Radio. We do a podcast every 2 weeks. So in June, we're doing a podcast every week. We talk about Fantasy 14 and other things. Thank you again for having me on. And I had a blast. Hopefully I did okay with the 21 questions. But yeah, remember to like and subscribe. Enjoy. Thank you.
All right, Corona.
Hey, you find me over on Twitch at Chrono32123. Same handle on YouTube and Twitter. Just I'm there.
Mark.
You could find me on YouTube at Late to the Game and a very similar on Twitch with some weird cadence inside. Yeah, and Twitter is just my name, Mark Liberto. You'll see me interacting with Brian a lot on there. That's pretty much all I do.
It's
So
like, oh, like Mark's tweet, like Chili tweet, like Chrono tweet, exactly. That is Twitter to a T. Toys for Bob, speaking of which, breaking news, tweeted they're partnering with Xbox to publish their next new game, still early in development. But
Banjo.
hey.
Please be Banjo.
Oh, dude, if it was Banjo, I would love to see that. Or Spyro, like whatever they want.
We just got to watch keywords.
Whatever they wanna make.
Or if they just straight up announce. I really hope that if it's early in development, they don't need to announce it right now. Announce
Yeah.
it in a year and I'll be okay.
Yeah,
now
100%.
here's a question. Do you want the original Banjo character asset or do you want that nuts and bolts
Oh no.
big
Give
old
me the Smash model. Give me the Smash Bros model.
Yeah.
There it is.
Like
There
level
it
that
is.
up. All right, chat. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And if you're listening to this as an MP3, thanks for being subscribed to the MP3. If you want to find the MP3 as a part of whatever podcasting platform you enjoy getting your podcast delivered to you, be sure to check the top link in the description, and you can subscribe to everywhere. We're on, I think, every platform for the audio. But anyway, guys, that's going to wrap us up. I'm going to run the outro, which is also the intro, and we will see you guys next week.